Hello everybody, hoping you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Today's video is going to be why do you overthink so much before you want to talk? That moment before you want to go up to talk to someone, but you second guess yourself, you get stuck in your head, you think to yourself that they would not want to be in the mood to talk to someone, they want to be left alone. All those second guessing, all those self-doubts before you do go to speak to someone, well, why does that happen? And then maybe even when you are speaking to someone, that you get a lot of tension inside of your body. You can't think clearly. You're always thinking the next thing to say, and you can't just relax and be socially used in the conversation. Well, why is that happening? Well, there's two reasons for this. The first one is the nervous system. And so this is the feeling in the body that you are getting. This is the nervous system activating in certain parts, telling your body that there is some type of danger. We'll get to why that is happening in a second. And the other part is the RES. And so this is in the mind. The RES is like an input-output machine, in which certain things that go into it is then going to lead to certain things coming out. And so an example of this is every time that you eat chocolate, it's usually tasty. And so when you see a tasty chocolate cake, you're going to maybe salivate, you're going to get hungry, you're going to want that cake. It's because you've seen it in the past, the experience you had was good, and then you want it more. And so is the RES. Now, if you were, say, brought up, and every time that you were seen it, you saw a picture of a hammer, or you saw a hammer, immediately buckets of water, ice cold water spilled upon you. Well, every time that you see a hammer, it's a bad hammer, but every time you see a hammer, you're going to get pain, and you're going to want to avoid that hammer also. And so this is why in certain things in your head automatically trigger very negative thoughts inside of you. And so when someone is just standing there and you want to go over and talk to them, or you need to ask maybe a boss or one of your coworkers, or one of your friends, or one of your colleagues, or someone else in the world for something, you having such a hesitance to go over and talk to them is the same thing going on here, but in a little bit of a more complicated way. And so you are thinking about the experience of socializing or talking to someone, but that has usually related or ended poorly, and then you have this hesitancy to go up and do it more. Now, when someone does have such second guesses inside of themselves before talking to someone or wanting to talk to someone that they don't do it at all, they completely suppress themselves from actually going out and doing that act. Well, I would declare that as some type of social anxiety. You fear the social situation so much that you don't even put yourself into it, that you don't even have the courage to go up and do it. And so in a lot of ways, you are lacking confidence, courage, and a lot of other emotional traits that people have who would be able to go up and do that. Now, everything in life is not black or white. It's not 1 or 0. It's on a scale. And so all these things that we're going to talk about, you can just be somewhere along that scale, more pushed towards this way, more pushed towards that way. It's never you are this, you are not that. It's you are about this much, but there's a little bit of this and there's a little bit of that. So it's always more nuanced when it comes to anything in life, basically. And so when you take you take apart these words, social anxiety, and you're able to deconstruct them into what they actually mean. Well, what is social? How do we socialize with each other? Well, obviously we use our words, but just like every other animal in this planet, we have developed our language, the actual vocab that we use, maybe 100,000 years ago, maybe like whatever that year number would be. However, humans themselves, the organisms of who we are, have been communicating with each other even before language was created, even before our grunts and stuff like that, right? And so you have to understand what I'm trying to say with that. Before my complex languages and my words were to describe, things in my head, things in the world, we had to communicate in a much more simpler way. And this is where the sub-communications come in. Okay. So the sub-communications of a human are broken down into 4 things. And that's the eye contact. That's the tonality of the voice. That's facial expressions. And let's go like EXP. And then body language. And so these 4 things are how humans communicate most of the time, and it's actually 93% of how people do communicate. Meaning I can give the same message I am giving here. However, it's going to be completely perceived differently if I do this stuff in a different way. So if I go up to you and I say, hi, my name's Austin, nice to meet you. You would think, okay, this guy's kind of friendly, he's kind of warm, he seems like, he believes in himself to some degree. All that stuff is happening very subconsciously, but in the background. If I go up to you and with my eye contact, with my tone, and with my facial expressions, and with my body language, I display nervousness, I display hesitancy, I display that, maybe something suspicious is happening. The other feeling that you're going to get from that is nervousness, hesitancy, suspicion. Hi, my name's, even worse, hi, my name's, that's going to come out in a different way. However, all this stuff is going to be very hard to control. What happens in the body, the expressions that we get outside into the real world are going to be a reflection of what's in the brain. And just like we told before, what is in the brain is in the RAS. And these are your base mindsets. Where does your brain go when certain things happen? If someone gets you an insult or a critique, does immediately your brain go to being defensive, being loud, getting angry? Well, that's something that is there, right? Whenever you don't want to talk to someone or someone doesn't give you the most attention that you feel like that you would want, do you get very angry? Do you get very defensive about too? Does it make you feel worth less? When maybe you're going to put in an application for getting promoted, for hiring or getting to a new position, do you feel like you do not deserve that? All those things, in the moment, you feel this negativity towards, but it's not based off anything prior, right? Like, I've never talked to that specific person before, yet I'm still feeling anxious. Well, why is that? It's because it's not about the specific situation. It's more about the concept. And so, growing up, a lot of people with more stressful childhoods have more concepts of not being understood, not being seen, rejected. And a lot of these things, especially in your family sense, a lot of these things are then going to seep out into the other places of your world. And so they may come at school. They may come at work. In everyday lives. That's why even at school, if you're not treated the worst, but at maybe home you are, or at home it's a much harder thing, still this superior round too will also your nervous system, but we'll get to that in a second. And so when this all goes to show that if I were to give you eye contact, that's a bit more hostile, furrowing my eyebrows. If I were to switch my tone, well, I don't really like that, man. You should stop. If I were to say this stuff, well, how does it affect you on the inside? Even if I walk by someone and maybe they give a well, does that make me feel any worse about myself? Should that make you feel any worse about yourself? Well, it depends. If you have confidence, if you have self-love, then you would say to yourself, well, this person is giving a bad look to me, but that's probably on them. I don't know why they're so mad. The concept of you even being a bad person wouldn't exist in your mind, or wouldn't exist as much as it would someone else. And so it wouldn't confirm what you're already thinking. A lot of the things that you get from the world are just going to want to be confirmed by the business mindset. And so if you feel like someone was mean to you, it's because I'm this. It's because I'm that. It's because of this way I am. And a lot of these things people hold about themselves that are different. However, a lot of similar things to a lot of people. And so one could be race. One could be physical appearance. It could be family. It could be financial. Could be religion. Could be sex. Could be, hobbies. All this stuff. And so you have all these things that you have ideas, you have concepts, you have interpretations on, all these things. However, if you hold all of them, and so let's pick an example. I think a huge example here is race. And so in the modern day today, you would say that I've talked to a lot of people that a lot of brown people tend to almost find themselves in a self-hatred of their color because of how they're treated by other people, and they can't do anything about that. And so you may look at themselves, they may not be always there, but when you're going up to talk to someone, what's happening is that moment of tension, the MOT, the MOT, moment of stress, MOS, or it is getting higher. And it's getting higher because you're about to be seen by another person. And so the level of you being uncomfortable is going to be proportional by the level that you are being seen. Because this is what it means to communicate with another person. They need to see you in some regard. They need to know that you're there for them to even kind of interact with you. And so this is why you may be very comfortable with no one looking at you, however, very uncomfortable with a lot of people looking at you. It's because your RAS is saying, well, they may see something that I deem about myself to be that. Right? Society may deem it bad too. However, your belief about something should be more than anybody else's. And so if you believe that you're a bad person because you're a certain skin color, because you have certain physical appearances, because you like certain things in your life, because any of this stuff, you have a certain type of family, maybe you're embarrassed about your family, you're embarrassed about your financial situation, embarrassed about the religion that you have, and you feel that deep down, if you were to express that to the world, they would meet that with judgment. And from this judgment, you would be excluded from the group. And then what does exclusion do? Well, if you were to take this 100,000 years back, if you got excluded from the tribe, you were most likely going to die. There is really no way of saving yourself. To Mother Earth, to the nature, you're going to die. And so our brain has this thing, and our body, our nervous system has this thing where we feel judgment, when we feel like we're about to be excluded from the group, we get a very big sense of discomfort. And that discomfort feeling that we get is death. And so the judgment that we do feel is the same feeling that we get of death. And this is where it kind of all goes together, where you're fearing death because you're fearing being judged, because you're fearing to be seen. And all this comes back to you having some type of shame about this stuff. And you may say, oh, I don't have shame about anything. I'm totally okay. But if you still do, overthink, second guess yourself a lot, it's because not all of this is at the top of the mind all the time. A lot of this stuff is very subconscious. So you don't realize it only until it comes up, or only until after it comes up. You're like, what the hell? And this is because in the nervous system, there's two parts. There's both the, let me just whack out a little one. There's both the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And so we can say one of these, the parasympathetic, is we're relaxed. And so this is where our body is in a state of relaxation. We can eat, we can digest. We're feeling good about ourselves. And so we would say this NS here is positive. When we're in a more relaxed body, in a more relaxed space, our thoughts tend to also be somewhat positive, or at least not super negative, right? When our body is tense, because we're in a tense situation, then those thoughts are going to come. And so the body is a reflection of the mind. That's why when you want to give a speech in front of a lot of people and you're nervous, you're going to go, I am hoping that you guys don't, because you're feeling that nervousness on the inside and on the outside. However, if you go back to when you're a child, you have to understand, does this make sense? Does being seen equal a feeling of death and judgment? Well, no. And so it's something that is inherent. It's something that's learned throughout time. This model works because you came out of your mother's womb, or where you came out of, crying. In other words, you came out fully expressing yourself. And when you come up fully expressing yourself, crying, you're not caring about how other people look at you. You're doing what you got to do wherever you want. You're crying for food. You don't care. You're just fully blah, 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 blah. And so you have zero fear of judgment. Plus, next draw again. You have zero fear of judgment outbursts. And only throughout time, once you learn about concepts and then you are met with certain reactions from the world, do you develop this fear of judgment. And the fear of judgment is going to be scaled with the type of experiences that you have been through. And so a lot of the people I do talk to, a lot of the friends I have are immigrants, meaning that they're different colors, or they came to other countries, or came from other countries, and they have to deal with just those things in the back of their mind a lot of the time. Some other things, however, are just not knowing what to say. So this is where I went into for a big part of my life. I wanted to have conversations, but I just didn't know what to say. And this is because the lack of experience, the lack of the concept, comes from the lack of experience. And so because I didn't really know how a conversation went, it's because I lacked that experience in my own life. And it's because when I was, kind of going out, I didn't want to talk to a lot of people because my RAS was already kind of scared and thinking to myself, I shouldn't talk to other people, right? And because my mind was already in a negative headspace, I didn't talk to a lot of people, meaning I didn't learn how to have good conversations. And then when I was in a conversation, I didn't know what to do. So I would just be quiet because that's usually just what I did. And if I did want to speak, I did want to express myself, I had a big feeling of discomfort too, or wanting to do that. And this is because of experiences that you get while going through your life. And so here's a very interesting one that a lot of my clients have gone through. And we have to, I show those as a type of example because it really helps if you're very impulsive, you get very emotionally reactive to things. This is going to give you a good reason onto why that is happening and how things from your past still affect you today. Even if you don't remember it, they live still in the body. And so we have an example here of, say, a guy, a girl, whoever it be. We'll give her some hair. So we have a nice girl. Okay. And then one day, she's just living her life, but one day, say her dad comes in, say her mom comes in, look at what's flowy hair. It's kind of angry. And maybe there's some stuff left down. Maybe the house is it's a bit dirty, right? And what this person does is express to this person a lot of negative energy. And so I'm not very spiritual. I am spiritual, but I don't like to explain a lot of my teachings through a full, spiritual lens. And so the NE is just basically negative sub-communications. And so we already know what the sub-communications are. It's the eye contact, it's the tone, it's the face, then it's the body image. And so all of these are feeling that of judgment. And so when I talk to someone, I'm getting, well, you don't even know what you're trying to do. How do you go? Well, that's him to tell. And then you can feel from there, the body delusion follows. My face follows, right? And they're all going for this more kind of angry, not understanding, not very soft, which doesn't mean very caring. And so you're feeling all these emotions from the type of energy that this person is putting out with the eyes, tone, face, and body usage. And even, behind that too is the vocab that they're learning. And so this is where, again, the concepts come in, because now what they're learning, this kid is learning, is, well, whatever the words that this young dad used. You're so lazy. you don't even pick up yourself. You're just like your mother. Right? Stupid. You can't do anything right. And so with all these things, you begin to develop these concepts about yourself, these stories about yourself that maybe aren't always there, but live in the deep of the subconscious mind. And then when you want to go, do something in it or explore something in life, and you need that courage behind you, well, all of this doubt comes to your mind. And when this person is giving off that NE, well, they don't just get it out of themselves. It's because they kind of harbor a little bit of NE in themselves too. And so because maybe this person had a stressful day at work, maybe they, has something bad happen, or whatever happened to them, and they can't deal with that emotion very well in themselves, they bottle that up. And then maybe in a moment of stress, moment of tension, moment of stress, they saw the old employees deezing, like, oh, I'll go to work, and then I come home, I have to clean, I have to cook, and I have to, like, it's a very, stressful thing to go on and to deal with that. But then to unload that onto what to be as a child as they grow up, well, the NE doesn't just go away. It actually sticks with that person too. It sticks with that person with the vocab, and it begins to embed itself in the RAS of, oh, when people raise their voice, when people get angry, when people do this, I'm going to feel pain. And so this is why, even in situations where someone is like, you don't even know them, they're raising their voice. Maybe when someone even touches you, you have such a resistance, such a pullback to that, because you know what has happened last time when something has like that has happened. And so when someone gives you a look, when someone gives you a judgment, when someone gives you a shame, well, you know that's going to lead to a deep pain. It's going to lead the opposite of pain, possibly physically, and most definitely emotion. Okay. So one of my clients, when she was younger, her father would yell at her and we get very mad at her for always being sick. Now, this is something that was out of her control. This is something that she couldn't be like, okay, I'll not stop being sick. It was just something that was with her. She says he had an autoimmune disease. But her father never, or at least with the conversations that we had, her dad was very aggravated by that. Her dad did not deal with that stress a lot and would always say to her and get very angry, oh my God, you always get sick. You always have to do this. You're always so bad. You're always keeping us lower than we need to. You're always being a burden. You're always... And what this person developed inside of her was, well, all the concepts of, I am not a good person, because that is what she was being told over and over again. She's being told very deep things like her existence is to be a burden. Her existence makes other people's lives worse. And I can obviously tell that because look how stressed I make you feel. Look how angry you always are. And it's because of me. And so you begin to have this RAS, this base mindset, this base concept of, I am burdened. People don't like talking to me. When people do talk to me, they get angry. Because of all this stuff, well, and when I do talk to people, I'm going to feel pain. And so what do you think happens when next time that you want to go talk to someone, next time that maybe there's someone else that you want to meet? Well, last time that happened, the last time I was around this kind of similar situation, it didn't end so well. And I really think I'm burdened, so would that person even want to talk to me anyways? And because of that, you don't go up to that person, you don't speak, you don't do what you want to do, you actually run away, and that learns to be a habit. A habit of not doing what you wanted to do, but giving into that fear and then running away from it. Then allowing you, or at least not allowing you, to build the concept. Because you've always run away from it. Now, like we said before, everything is on a scale. We switch to yellow. My white one, no. Everything is on a scale. It's not 0 or 1. It's 0 between 1. And so when you are talking to someone, you can feel a lot of types of things. You can feel nervousness, but to what degree? You can feel relaxed, but to what degree? And at what moment? And so we can say that the comfortability that you feel, the nervousness, so nervous system that you feel, is between a couple different variables. That being time, that being the person, and then that being the environment. And so we can say, depending on the time leading up to the conversation or the event that's happening, times, the person that we're talking to, and the environment that we're in, all these are going to be variables in how comfortable that we do feel. And so imagine the time, imagine the day before you wanting to go talk to someone or you talking to someone else. The day before that, you just had a big argument with your family and they said, you're nothing, this, you're all value, busy, you value, you're lazy, you're no good. Well, fresh on your mind is going to be that negativity. And so when you right away then go talk from another person, well, that probably is going to be there. That probably is going to be fresh as it is. And so over time, this probably is going to go away, but it doesn't go away completely. The person. Well, if you had past experiences with someone that weren't the best either, still it's going to be a bit more negative. You're going to feel a bit more nervous. Secondly, if this person is new, well, you don't even know who they are. You don't know how they'll judge you. You don't know all this. You want to be accepted so badly. That's where British people get very anxious. And again, the environment. And so you can feel more nervous in your room versus out in public. You can feel more nervous out in public versus alone in a room. And so for me specifically, being in my room with another person is one of the most nervous things in the world. And it's because the room to me is very personal. The room represents me. My house represents me. The family that I have represents me. A very deep thing that I'm attached to. And we call this the ego. And so my identity highly is in the room. This is where I sleep. This is where I do stuff. If you say my room was not good, if you say it's dirty, if you say it's it's not a fun room, it's not cool, it's not like that, that is actually going to make me very sad because I see myself as part of, very into that room. If you make fun of that room, I'm going to feel that you're going to be making fun of me to some regard. And so this is something that is very different from person to person. I'm actually more comfortable out in public with a lot of people around because I'm not attached to that, right? If someone makes fun of the walls, but I don't own the walls, but not our walls, I'm not really care. My ego is not attached to those. And so this comes from personal belongings, personal things about you. If someone insults my blue hair, well, I don't have blue hair, so my ego is not really attached to it. If they insult my nose, which I have been, talked or said something about before, and I'm going to feel like, oh, because I have a nose like this, it's going to make other people not like me. Because of that, I don't like myself. And so even when they point out the nose, even the topic of nose comes up, well, my ego's in there, and I've associated that with negativity, and so my nervous system is going to start getting uncomfortable. And so I'm actually seeing this with last names. If your last name is cultural, I guess is the best way to say, is not a white person name, is maybe a very common name, is a name that you don't find so much pride behind. Well, when you say that, oh yeah, my name is this, your voice and your nervous system is going to tremble because your body is trembling because the concept that we are talking about, it has some shame to it. You're a bit shamed to say that. And so you may say, oh, my name's Bukhari, right? When I say my name, oh, my name's Hassan Bukhari. But I may say, oh, my name's Hassan Bukhari because I'm ashamed of what type of associations that name will have. And I'm fearful that you may judge me for having that type of thing. And so when you say something like that so confidently, yeah, my name's Hassan Bukhari, there's no hesitation. Well, it's relaxed. It's relaxed in the body because it's relaxed in the mind. Because I hold no shame about that. I could just say it and it doesn't really mean anything to say. Now, it wasn't always like this. I had shame about everything. But what I did was on the expressing side, on me allowing it to come out, I forced my body to be relaxed when I said it. And when I was relaxed when I said it, the other person didn't get the fear of judgment that I actually had. And they were able to meet that with positive energy back. And so let me just show you this for a second. If someone asked me what my last name is, they ask a question, and then because I'm shameful about the last name as you have, I respond timidly, I respond as meekly. I may be even giving a little mad. Get some negative energy. Well, this is reinforcing every time that I don't speak super relaxed. I don't speak it as I own it. Well, this is reinforcing to hide myself. Even if it's as something as saying your last name a bit quieter, a bit more nervous, like when someone asks you, you are hiding yourself because there's a deep part of you that is shameful that other person may judge you. But every time you do that, you reinforce this is not a good thing to fully let out. And so what you should do is express that as, happily and as firmly as you can, and building on the mindset to begin with. And so right here, you have that shame because the RLS is negative. But what you need to do before you even get into that space is try to build this RLS to be positive. And so when I think about my last name, and it may be super common, it may be used over and over again, it may have a bad interpretation. You need to be able to frame that as something that is fun, that's something that you can take pride in. It doesn't matter that maybe 100 other people, 1 million other people have this type of last name. I have this type of last name. I make something with it. And so that's the difference in the mindset. So something even more personal, we'll talk about physical appearances. My ears are a bit big. My front teeth are a bit big. My nose is a bit big. So all those things are things that you could look at and judge me to make fun of. But because I think about them not so negatively, I don't really care. I just think about them as things that make me me. They make me unique. I would not be me without those things. And if you point them out, I don't even look at it as you're making fun of me. I look at it as you went out of your day, you took time out of your day to comment on me. Thank you for noticing me. And so I don't respond negatively. I respond as, that's a joke, that's fun. You're just teasing me. That's totally okay. I hold no shame over that. I'm able to tease myself too. This is something to have fun and laugh at. And so my RS is not super negative. Oh, look, I am a horrible person because you're so big. I am a horrible person because my fucking fashion's bad. I'm a horrible person because I'm not this, not that. I just don't have that. I just have a deep self-love for myself in every regard, but it needs to be trained. And so if you do not have, or you've been shamed for things about yourself before, this is a big one, weights. Well, even the word coming up in a conversation is going to make you feel because your RES is negative about that the topic. And so the goal of improving this, of lowering the self-judgment that you have, is lowering the negative RES, the negative base interpretations that you have about the world and yourself and judgments about you, into positive ones. And once you're able to do that, you hold no shame with anything about yourself or the world, and you're able to express yourself in a very relaxed way about everything. Now again, everything would be one, so as close to everything as you can. Now, the reason that it does not come off, or when you are talking to someone, saying you, or someone like you're getting a hesitancy, that second guessing, it's because your body does not want to be seen. And so you cannot be judged if you are not seen. It just doesn't make sense, right? So you can only be judged if someone is looking at you. And so this is why the type of people looking at you matter, right? Also, the time coming back from it. So if you just got off, you had an amazing party, you were talking to everybody there, you knew everybody there, you were having an amazing time, and then you that party ends and say like an hour later, you walk down the street and someone says hello to you. Do you think you have a greater chance because you were already so social, the hours passed for so long? Do you think you have a greater chance of being more open and friendly with that person? Well, probably. Versus you didn't talk to anybody for a year and then that person said hello. Who do you think would be more socially receptive? There's the same people, but you have gone through different experiences leading up to that moment in time. And so you're going to express yourself differently because you are more relaxed, both in the mind and in the body. And so the key that we want to have here is to relax ourselves both in the mind and in the body. Starting in the mind, expressing ourselves, feeling the discomfort in our body, or being okay with it. And so there's a saying that I came up with to get over the feeling in your body, and that is to let yourself die. But this doesn't mean literally, but it means the attachment that you have to whatever that other person, that you feel that other person would judge you. And so for me, I had a deep judgment about my family. I have 2 mothers, they're gay, and I've always been so hesitant about saying that to the world. I've always been so repressed in talking about that because I just, in my head, I knew people did not like that. They would get mad at me. They would, call me names. They wouldn't be receptive to. And I had it up to that point, I would say in like 19 years, 20 years, had many people who I could just tell at first glance, I could tell by a little bit of conversation, would react positively to that, right? And so what happened as growing up around such uncomfortability inside of me, my nervous system was super scared. I was in a scared state a lot of the time because I just felt this judgment a lot of the time. At any moment, this could come up and it's all over. I'm going to get judged. They're all going to hate me. And then when they hate me, they're going to leave me. And when they leave me, I die. So that's all happening right in the brain. But on the outside perspective, there's not much going on. And so that's why the anxiety is happening. It's all inside of the body and it's inside of the mind. And so you have to allow yourself to die either when that thing does come up or preferably you going out to people and expressing this. And so me sitting here in front of the camera as there's people going by me in front of their businesses, as the person behind me is probably maybe could hear me too, I just don't have a judging about what they feel, right? They wanted to come into the room and have a conversation now. I'm going to be okay with that because I believe what I'm doing here, there's no shame about it. I don't feel any negativity about it. I could do the exact same thing here in a crowd of other people because I don't feel the shame in whatever I am doing here, talking to my phone camera as I jot on a chalkboard. It could be embarrassing to some people, but I don't feel that embarrassment. I mean, I do feel embarrassment, but I'm just okay with it because I know it's not true. And so I used to feel the embarrassment of just being myself, of being who I was, because I've been told so many times, why are you so weird? Why are you so quiet? Why can't you talk? Are you mute? I've been called the R word, been called the A word, just because of, not being able to speak to other people. The shame about myself not being able to do that was so high, right? And then even deeper than that, it was allowing people to meet my family, meeting the people that I had such a, built-in habit of, no, you're not allowed to sit, you're not allowed to come close. Just avoiding it at all costs because I was so scared of what would happen afterwards. Little did I know what would happen afterwards. It just wouldn't be death, even though the body was telling me it was death. So even though you may know it's something to be death, literally integrated in the body, it feels the feeling of death. And this goes back to when you were a kid and your parents, a person who you're supposed to, you look at your parent and you say, this is my only caregiver in the world. If this person does not love me, I will die. If I anger this person too much, they will leave and I will just die. And so if you have a lot of days of not being seen, of not being understood, of having comparisons, insults, mean words said to you, that's going to all put you, all that stuff is going to put you down in the RAS and make you their neighbor. And in your brain, you may, when it goes silent for a little bit, may start to reminisce on those stories, on why did that person do this to me? Why did that person do this to me? Only if this, only if that. And you put yourself down, you feel bad more and more and more, and it's just spiraled downwards. And if you have, and that's basically all that's covered up and eat inside of you. And if you don't have anybody in your life, you don't have any siblings, you don't have any friends, you don't have any family that you can then talk to about all that stuff in your head, well, it's going to stay there. And you're just going to be, overthinking so much, overthinking everything, overthinking the simplest things, because now it's becoming a habit to overthink. It's becoming a habit to not go out and immediately do that, but to sit in the discomfort for so long, overthink it so much, and then not do anything at all. It's just becoming a habit. And so that is why the ESS, I say, is very, very important. Your emotional support system. The people in your life that you're able to express yourself to, express the deeper parts that kind of hurt you, the deeper shames, the deeper things in your life that have annoyed you, that have given you anger. Well, with that comes, a little bit of that ego that you have to get out. And so there's a difference between talking to someone about the ice cream flavor, your favorite ice cream flavor, your favorite video game. That is what I say is a level boy conversation. There's not much ego attachment. If someone, I say my favorite ice cream is chocolate, and that other person says chocolate's meh, depending on the time, depending on the person, depending on the environment, I'm going to have a certain type of reaction. But my reaction is not going to be so insane because I don't identify my whole identity with liking chocolate. It's not that big of for me, right? But if, say, I was religious, and that person says, I don't mess with Jesus, I don't mess with God. Well, because that identity is much deeper, you may feel a much bigger disconnect from that. If I were to talk about something like my family, I'm going to feel a much deeper attachment, a much deeper discomfort and feeling for that because my ego is much more attached with something like that. I hold a lot more judgment. I hold a lot more shame and emotion when it comes to that conversation. And having a conversation like that is level 2. So level 2 is how you make is conversations about shames that you have, mistakes that you've done, things in your life that are much more emotional. And to be able to do that, you need this emotional vulnerability that is built through understanding how to do it and having the fear of judgment so you're able to pop that. And so if you hurt someone's feelings and you can see you hurt their feelings, but you find it hard to say sorry, it may be because, and every time I'd say has been this, it may be because deep down in yourself, the RAS, the base mindset has, I am a mistake. I am a mistake. You have something like that inside of you, right? And so now that you didn't even mean to do it, you didn't mean to cause harm, you didn't mean to hurt someone's feelings, but you have, and they're saying this back to you. They're expressing that you hurt their feelings. Well, because you don't want to, because you believe this deep down inside of you, and you don't want this to be real, because if it is real, well, you're entitled, like, what's the point of you living, right? And so you're going to go everything against, no, I'm not a mistake. And so this is where that defensiveness comes. And this is where that moment of tension comes out. It's because they're hitting, the conversation has to do something with something that you have a kind of shameful ego attachment to. And so you will get defensive and you will hostile because you don't believe this person is saying, hey, you hurt me, can you hear from me? You believe this person is saying you are a mistake because you can't, even though they're not, but that's where your mind automatically goes, you can't differentiate the two. And your body goes back to the same moment in time in which this type of stuff was being said to you, which is extreme discomfort, extreme bottle of emotions, and all of those are going to come out in that moment of tension. But even afterwards, if you're not able to express yourself, you're going to start overthinking and reminiscing and say, I should have done that, I should have done this, I should have done that, only if I did this. And again, overthinking, but not expressing. And so you're just building up this habit of not being able to talk to another person, to overthink, because of all the shames that you had previously. And then when there is someone that you do want to talk to, it's going to be like, oh, obviously this is hard. Obviously this is going to be, there's some things going on in the background that are not allowing me to do this. And lastly, I will say that the type of expression that you do is also on a scale. And so the fear of judgment I have myself, you can immediately tell when talking to me. It may not be super obvious because I have to, at some point, kind of control myself for not breaking down or having such reactions that I may have sometimes. But you will see to some degree that my fear and judgment is quite low. And this is because of the sub-communications that I'm displaying. It's because my speechy, my tonality is loose. I'm relaxed. My body language is relaxed. My eye contact is loose and relaxed. And even more so, maybe the vocab I'm using is that of jokes, stories, and I'm okay holding attention. So I'm okay telling you a story. I'm okay telling a joke because, well, what happens when you tell a story? What happens when you tell a joke? You have to hold attention. What happens when you hold attention? You're being seen. And so, really, I'm okay being seen. Matter of fact, I like being seen because I have love in myself and I can give that love to other people who just have to see me for that to happen, right? And so I love myself, which is self-love, which is a good thing. It's confidence, which means my RAS is possible. And I would say it's positive to right here. There's still some things, but almost immediately I feel the discomfort inside my body and be like, oh, I'm resisting something. Let me die. And then say what I need to do what I need to do. Allow that to happen. And so when you do this, you're okay being seen. Or you're okay in the sub-communications. If you go here, I'll have another color. In the sub-communications, you're okay with eye contact, looking in someone's eyes. This is a level of being seen, is looking into someone's eyes. So imagine that you like someone, you want to go up and talk to them, but you hold so much judgment about yourself that you can't even look at them in the eyes because that would be allowing yourself to be seen too much. And then from there, they would judge you from being seen. Then they would find out that you're not a good person, that you're all believing yourself. And then from there, they would leave you and never want to be with you again. So all of that is happening inside, even before you open talk to that person, but it's coming out in the eye contact. It's coming out in the tone, where you're not as loud, where you're meek. You speak like this, and you speak with such hesitancy and stuttering, and you can't just be loose because you hold that shame over yourself. And so there's an incongruence there. It comes out in the facial expressions, and the body language, and the tenseness that you have. And so if I'm not okay being seen, well, I'm probably going to constrict myself in all areas. So I'm not going to take as much space. I'm going to be like this. I'm not going to move as much. I'm not going to touch. I'm not going to play as much because I don't want to be seen. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize all my expression, my emotion, to be not seen, to protect myself and to live. And if all that stuff is going on, so immediately when I talk to someone, I can tell to some degree their confidence by how they speak. So can everybody else. It's just very subconscious. For me, I had to learn it so I could then express myself like the way I wanted to. And now I just see it on other people and I can immediately tell. And so when someone does talk to me, they have this tone that's like, oh yeah, that's kind of like this. In my head, I think, okay, well, when this person was loud as a kid, that probably didn't end well. And so there's to have some type of suppression in their emotion, suppressing expression. Now, all of this goes back to just how you were raised and the things that were done to you, said to you, and the people you're around and how you reacted to that, the habits that you built from it, and now where you are today. And so the way that you do get out of it is by practicing all these expressions. And it's going to feel unnatural at first, especially for me, because I had no concept. I was like, oh, how do I do it? What do I say? What do I do? And because I was overthinking in my head so much, concerned about how people were looking at me, concerned how I wasn't able to be fully in the present moment and just float, just exist, just express. And so confidence, my definition of confidence, is a lot different to a lot of people. My definition of confidence, let me see if I can get a cover here. So this is my definition of confidence: relaxed sub-communications. So when I'm talking to you, am I talking like I'm relaxed? Does it seem like I am spilling all the words out? Does it seem like I don't believe in what I'm saying? No. Why? Because I'm relaxed. If I had tension inside of me, well, why do I have tension? It's because I don't feel good with what's coming out. And so there's an incongruency. When I'm relaxed, it shows you both in your mirror neurons, meaning when you look at other people, we tend to imitate them a bit. We tend to go into their state. And so if I'm very active, I'm very angry, I'm very ready to go, another person's going to be like that too. You can do this with dogs. If you just do this with a dog, they will get super jumpy and think you're playing. I didn't say anything to them. I just went like this. I just changed the body language. And so through the body language, through certain types of expression, people are going to be like that too. They're going to start getting into that same zone. And so when my zone is very relaxed, not much fear of judgment, completely myself, other people are going to be like that too. And because people like to be themselves, relax, have fun, they're going to enjoy being around someone like me. Now, even if they don't, that's totally okay too. I'm okay being around myself. That's all I need. It just goes to show that when you are very uptight, you're very nervous, that other person's going to be like, why are you so uptight? Why can't you be yourself? Why can't you relax? I'm feeling like this too. Are you trying to hide something? Or are you trying to do something? Like, why can't you just be yourself? Why can't you relax? And so you're freaking them out because you're freaked out. And that's the mirror neurons going on. That's the energy transfer that you could say between our sub-communications that person is picking up on. So when you're relaxed, you're calm, you can calm yourself in the body, calm yourself in the mind. And then you express yourself like this. That is what people are going to be, comfortable with. So that has been this video. If you want more help, there's a couple links in the description. Talk to you personally. Improve your social skills. Stop your second guessing. Get out of there. Know how to have a conversation. Not get so stuck up in your head. So with that, guys, boys and girls, I love you so much. Goodbye. Peace out.